First off, I want to thank the brave men and women who work behind the wall. I want to thank them on a national level because their job goes unrecognized.
How do they try to turn a guard?
Well, correctional officer. Sorry, I apologize. But correctional officer.
How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk. Today I thought we could discuss problematic inmates. Now the scenario I'm going to give is specific to what I went through. So my reaction is based on what was in that situation. So again, it's one specific incident. And I'm going to give you my thought process, what I thought I should do, what I actually did, and hopefully it provides some really good advice on how to deal with problematic inmate. But again, it's specific to this issue. We have a great community here, so guys, share your stories. If you have a specific time where you had to deal with a problematic inmate, tell us about it and tell us what you did. Each scenario is going to be different, which means that our reactions could be different. So I'm just going over specifically one story. And we have a lot of rookies that watch this channel. So I think it'll be good for the rookies to kind of get a little something from the community. And guys, I always appreciate the comments. I read every one. So thank you. And thank you for helping my community really give out good information. Another thing, I know it's been a little bit since I've done a video. Russ, thank you for helping me out, giving me a little bit of a video in between. It's summertime, so when I have my phone up, the sun hits the window, it overheats the phone. So I'm not able to do videos on the way home, and that's usually when I try to do them because that's when the time permits. But I'm still going to get into it. Still topics I want to discuss. I just got to find a way to do it. Also, guys, recently, I think about moving up in the career and taking that next step. So I've been on my way home just really driving home and just trying to look into me, trying to find my inspiration. And I think I've been doing really well. I think I've really been finding out a lot about myself, how I view things, what I want, and most importantly, as I start to move up to that next position, who I need to be. And sometimes we need that, a little bit of a soul search, if you will. Going so far as throwing away my pink shirts. I used to, in admin, wear my pink shirts. Sorry, guys. No more pink shirts. Pink shirts, unfortunately, may not reflect the sense of authority that I need to be in these positions. Do like those pink shirts, but I respect the person who gave me that advice, that person who's given me that level of inspiration. So thank you. So when we come back from our sponsors, we're going to be discussing problematic inmates, specifically a scenario that I went through. Now, guys, if you haven't, the show Tier Talks for you, brave men and women that work in correction. So please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. The bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. I stand by.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Thank you guys for listening to my sponsor. You know, recently I've been watching a show called Girls Incarcerated on Netflix. I think it's on its second season. It's a show about a juvenile correctional facility out in Madison, Indiana, if you will. And I think it's a good show, very balanced. I finished the first season. I'm enjoying it. I'll tell you something, working with juveniles, you gotta be extremely patient. So hats off to you officers that work with juveniles. There's a scene in this show where you have a juvenile, she's kind of being very argumentative, very problematic, and you have this officer that's trying to deal with her, trying to be as patient as they can be. And the officer's spot on with the advice that this inmate needs to hear, this juvenile. But it's not working. Juvenile's just not listening. And what happens here is that the officer giving this great advice, he's focused on the one-on-one with this inmate, thinking that they're going to be effective. But one thing he's not taking into account is the environment. It's the environment that's making this officer not effective in doing what needs to be done. The dialogue's great. This officer's aces. But it's the environment that's limiting him from being effective. So when I saw this video motivated me to say, hey, Gant, you got to do a video on dealing with problematic inmates. So again, specifically to the scenario that I'm going to mention, this is my reaction to that scenario. So it's a piece of advice. I'm hoping that as we move along in the comments, we get people that give other scenarios, different type of reactions, so we get a good roundabout discussion for the people that may be new to this channel looking to deal with problematic inmates. Now, guys, I've worked in this field for about 17, 18 years, and I started my career at a female facility. When I worked at a female facility, guys, there's one thing I learned there. I learned how to communicate. I'm happy I started my career at a female facility. I learned how to use verbal judo, and I learned how to de-escalate potential conflicts. You know, I didn't start working with men to almost 8, 9 years into my career. So, in comparison, I thought, and again, my experience, I thought women challenged your orders a little bit more, and you wind up leaving very emotionally frustrated by the end of the day. But again, that's just my experience. Don't get me wrong, guys. You could have one problematic inmate amongst thousands that can mess up your day. Mess up the day of the whole facility, one inmate. But in this case here, I believe that working with females was a little bit more challenging. And how it's kind of laid out here is working with the females was a very open environment. So you have a lot of interactions with these female inmates. A lot of chances for them to just challenge your level of authority. And when you're put in a position as a correctional officer, your level of authority is important. You have to protect it at all costs. And if you're a supervisor, protect your officer's level of authority. Don't let inmates circumvent that. But sometimes we don't realize that we're giving up our level of authority by certain actions that we do. Now, guys, I want to tell you something right now. I wasn't always quick to put paper to pen. I just thought that I wanted to handle the situations. And even though an inmate's being an ass, it's not always a writable offense. So sometimes you're going to have to deal with it. And that's going to be part of the communication skills that you have to have, that you pretty much develop as your career progresses. So I remember dealing with one problematic inmate who just really was able to push my buttons. Now, mind you guys, for the most part, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt here. A lot of the inmates I dealt with really did try to move forward, do the right thing, and then hopefully create a positive impact as they reached out into the community. Because I know a lot of females that I dealt with one-on-one that really never really got in trouble inside the prison and then wind up never coming back. So I would like to think for the most part, you do have those that try to do the right thing. I'm going to be fair with that. On the other side of the coin, you get some that it's just, you can't do anything, man. It's just, you try your best, you try to be effective, and it's just not working. And sometimes me, as I'm becoming very insightful, I want to know, like, is it me that just can't get to this individual? Or is it the individual themselves? Key? You know, I think that's key to understand that, right? Like, is it me? Is it how I'm giving out my order? What is it? Or I just got this individual there's nothing you could do with. So I remember going through a tit for tat with this inmate and give the inmate the order. The inmate just constantly challenged it. Would do the order, but the inmate had a mouth and very snippy. But again, still doing the order. And I don't know, man, you know, at the beginning of my career, it was all about that pride. Like, I'm not going to let you get that little remark off. I gave you an order. You're not going to question it. I know you're doing it, but your mouth is going to get you in trouble. And you just have a tit for tat. And I think I'm remaining in control. She would say something snippy. I would say something snippy right back. But that was me looking from me. I didn't really look at how it looked like from the outside. How people see us going back and forth. So there was a senior officer just watching us. And then when the dialogue kind of ended, again, just going tit for tat, just escalating. I made no effort to de-escalate. He came back and said, let me talk to you in the office real quick. I was like, knew I did something wrong. So I went, to talk to the officer. He goes, how do you think you handled that? I said, you know what, man? I know I didn't handle it correctly. But I'm not going to lose my level of authority. And I have a feeling like when they go back and forth, that's what's happening. And I have to get that last remark off. Because if I don't, it's like I'm giving this person the win. He goes, well, you can't think that way. because that's not true. He goes, from the outside, all I saw was an officer who lost their control. And the inmates were watching it. Just you going back and forth, and, you know, when there was another way to handle it. I said, well, give me the advice, you know, whatever you have. He goes, what's the one thing that you're not looking at? I said, you know, when I'm dealing with the inmate, I'm working with the inmate one-on-one, trying my best to do it. He goes, but what's the one thing you're not seeing? I don't know. What? You know, help me out. The environment, Gangi. Look around you. Her behavior is being reinforced by her peers who want that negative behavior. They want her to act wild. Every time you said a comment, she would look behind you to see how the inmates reacted. And there were some that were motivating her. There were some that were encouraging her to continue with the dialogue, like, don't be a punk. And of course, she lives in this world, so she reacted in a negative way. So it doesn't matter what advice you're going to give her. It doesn't matter, you know, if it's advice that would really hit home with her. She can't allow that because the environment's not going to allow it in, so you're not going to be effective. He goes, what you have to do is you have to control your environment if you're going to have these dialogues with these inmates. He goes, I know you're not quick to do the pen and paper. I said, no, it's not me. I want to handle the situation. Again, not everything's a writable offense. He goes, then make an environment where you can handle it, because you didn't handle it because you had no control of the environment in which this dialogue was taking place. So, first off, guys, that's very good advice. I don't know if you guys are new to the field, but take that advice home. That is some really, really good advice. So, again, we're going to have this interaction with this inmate again, so eventually it happens again, and she's snippy. So, but she's still doing the order. So what happens is I give myself a chance to walk away, and then after I get a little bit of a breather, I tell the inmate, come to the office. Now the office is a secured area. So basically it's just me and the senior officer and this female inmate. There's no eyes on her from her peers, if you will. This inmate was totally different. Once I removed her from that environment, I saw it immediately. I was like, oh my God, this is like a total, it's like as if she was exhausted or tired. And I sat there, I was like, you know, me and you've been having this back and forth since I've been in this unit. And this is the first time I'm now going to talk to you one-on-one without your peers here to see it. And it's like she was relieved. It's crazy, but I'm telling you, I felt it. It was like she was relieved. It was like that she was tired of wanting to be this person that she thought she had to be. When I tell you that we had a great one-on-one, and I gave her whatever this advice was needed, which was no different than what I was trying to do out there until she challenged everything, she listened. She took it in. And my later dealings with her were as best as they could be. This inmate left the facility and never came back. But literally, all I had to do, instead of going tit-to-tat for this inmate to escalate it, all I had to do was control the environment and then have the dialogue. And as I said, the moment she came in, I knew right off the bat, I had this. Because she completely changed. So again, my advice here is, when you're dealing with a problematic inmate, if you can, and if the situation permits, don't confront them in the open. Don't confront them with other inmates watching. You're not controlling that environment. Control the environment by bringing the inmate into an area that's a little bit more isolated, a little bit more secured, and deal with the inmate on a one-on-one. And I'm telling you something, the inmate will act totally different, because their motivation, hopefully, will be not from these other inmates who are pushing negative influence. Maybe the motivation will be from you, who's now in her direct line of sight, because that's all she sees now. And I thought that was pretty good advice. As always, guys, the show is Tier Talk. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stay safe.